You know his words will get you farther than the film will ever go. Give him a moment of your time, he'll tell you what's wrong with the show. He knows what's good, what's bad, what's really bad. His face is just a sign. Say hello to Confused Matthew.
A film that has reached this magnitude of praise over the years cannot receive a negative review lightly, and I have no intention of doing so. What I hope to avoid, however, are the standard conversation stoppers regularly employed by all the Kubrick fans out there, first and foremost being the magnificent claim, "You just don't get it." Some movies have become so popular over the years that saying anything bad about them has almost become a form of heresy in our day and age. This goes for some films that have developed a reputation for being awful as well. They have been so blindly accepted as good or bad that their goodness or badness have developed the honorary yet erroneous title of officially good or officially bad. This has led to the following most unfortunate taboos. There are some films you are not allowed to hate. And yes, there are some films you are not allowed to like. While I stand by everything I've said in my reviews, I am not Caesar looking down on a crowd. I am just as guilty of perpetuating some of these taboos as anyone. It's for this reason that I try, as best I can, to approach my reviews in an unbiased way and look at the film's objective merits, to judge a film as being good or bad based on the film without any reference to who made it or who is watching it. This will be one of those reviews. Stanley Kubrick's reputation does not make him invulnerable to criticism, and his film will be judged on its own merits, reputation be damned. A word about Stanley Kubrick before we begin, so as to avoid the wrath of all the Kubrickites out there. To say that Stanley Kubrick, as a director, was ahead of his time is an understatement. Kubrick was ahead of our time. We're still not on his level yet. And all of his films, every single one of them, look amazing. If you deem this movie to be good because of the cinematography and the direction, I have no issue with that. I firmly believe that Stanley Kubrick was the greatest director who ever lived. The problem is, he sucked balls as a writer and almost single-handedly invented the strategy of style over substance. I can't even say that this is a non-movie. 2001: A Space Odyssey is an anti-movie. A movie with nothing happening, nothing being said, and nothing being done. A movie that is literally about nothing. The one exception to what I'm about to say is obviously the hardcore Kubrick fans I've known in my life. Those guys can't watch this movie enough straight through to the end. With the exception of that group, I have never met anyone that was able to watch this film without fast-forwarding through most of it. Now, the hardcore Kubrickians out there will likely try to argue that they aren't sophisticated enough, that they just didn't get it. The truth, guys, is that you can fast forward through most of this film and not miss anything important. 90% of 2001 is totally dispensable, and the other 10% just doesn't matter. I have never said the words, "nothing happened," in a more literal way than this. Case in point is this film's first actual scene. The opening was actually very good, with a lot of rousing music and the 2001: A Space Odyssey title coming up. It makes us think that we're in for something great, something amazing, the greatest story ever told. What do we actually get? Well, when the scene closes and the first scene actually opens up, landscape. The dawn of man. Okay, are we going to see the dawn of man? Are we going to see anything here? Nope, more landscape. 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 More landscape. More landscape. 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 Oh my god, the camera's moving! Holy crap, are we actually gonna get to something here? Maybe a character or a story point? Anything? Nope. Just more landscape. 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 Can you fucking believe this? Holy crap, monkey! Okay, hang on a second. That was 1 minute and 45 seconds of looking at nothing. 1 minute and 45 seconds where the audience may as well be staring at the goddamn wall. It's 1 minute and 45 seconds into the movie, and the movie hasn't even started yet. And it doesn't even start here either. We then get to a scene of a bunch of monkeys dicking around doing nothing, and you have no idea how long that friggin' lasts. Then a monolith suddenly appears out of nowhere, and the monkeys start attacking each other with weapons. But does the movie start after that? Oh no! After that, we get to see this. Crap floating in space. I really hope you like looking at this, because guess what? This is a 4 fucking minute scene. I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy a cup of coffee while I'm waiting for this to fucking be over and for me to wake up. Ah, man, that's some good coffee. Where are we now? Oh, yep, more crap floating in space. I know a lot of you, especially the Kubrick fans, are getting very frustrated with me right now. Probably because you're under the impression that I'm not being fair. I don't even have the music on, and that's supposed to add to whatever kind of atmosphere this scene has. Well, guys, this is crap floating in space. If I wanted to listen to goddamn music, I'd listen to goddamn music. I find it very ironic that this scene, the first time we actually see a character, portrays him asleep in a fucking chair because that's what the audience is doing. Try to understand where I'm coming from here. I know a lot of Kubrick fans think that this is one of the greatest atmospheric scenes they've ever seen, but really, please think about this. As far as the movie is concerned, we do not need to watch this. This is watching nothing. It's already about 10 minutes into the film, and the film has not started yet. I know you guys probably disagree with that, too, that you think the movie started after the opening titles. No, it didn't. A movie starts when the plot starts. A movie starts when a character's motivations or some kind of hint to his personality is addressed. This is crap floating in space, and we don't need to watch it. For fuck's sake, look at this. This is nothing. I'll go ahead and tell you exactly where this movie actually does start. It starts right here, where we learn that the main character is on his way to a place called Clavius, and we also learn that there's some sort of cover-up surrounding that area. So, how long did it take for this movie to actually start? 22 minutes and 42 seconds. That means that 22 minutes and 42 seconds have gone by without a line of dialogue being spoken, without a single narrative thread being woven, without the slightest hint of what this movie is or will be about. For fuck's sake, guys, this is how long it takes for a door to open in this movie. So it took 4 minutes movie time for this guy just to get here and tell these people that he's going to Clavius, and now he's on his way. The movie moves on. Oh, did I say the movie moves on? Oh my god, no it doesn't. No. No. No, we already sat through this! We already sat through this! Stanley Kubrick is the only person that I am aware of that could actually get away with calling this a film. Just imagine something for one moment, if I could have just a little bit of your indulgence. Imagine what would have happened if the movie The Lord of the Rings, let's take Fellowship for an example, had a 10-minute scene of Sam and Frodo walking around in the woods. And yeah, I know, the Lord of the Rings trilogy has a lot of scenes of a lot of people walking around in the woods, but those scenes also have dialogue and story points. Imagine if those were gone, that you strip it of all plot and characters and it's just Sam and Frodo walking around in the woods. What would have happened if The Lord of the Rings had been released under those circumstances? It would have been an abysmal failure. So now ask yourself this. What's the difference between that and this? And when you ask yourself that, ask yourself why this movie wasn't the failure that it should have been. God Almighty, this is one character going from one place to another place. And keeping that in mind, you want to know how long this scene lasts? 7 fucking minutes. 7 minutes of our time being wasted watching more crap float in space. It's one character going from A to B. How much of that do we really need to see? I'll go ahead and answer that question. None of it. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that right now. Now, for all the Kubrick fans out there, don't watch what I'm about to do next because it will burn. But for everyone else, consider this.
Well, goodbye, Elena. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. Dr. Smyslov?
Whatever the reasons for your visit to Clavius, Dr. Floyd, the very best of luck to you.
Oh, thank you. Ladies?
See, I let the audience know that the character has gone from one place to another place, and even when removing the 7-minute scene of his goddamn ship landing, the movie itself is unchanged. All I did was cut out the fat. Why didn't Kubrick do that? So, here are the 2 and only 2 things that we have learned in the film so far. One is that Clavius, where this guy is now, is in the middle of a cover-up, and 2, the reason there's a cover-up is because they found something they don't want the people knowing about. You want to guess how long it took for the movie to tell us those 2 things? 40 fucking minutes! But who needs a story when we can watch crap float around in space? Welcome to part 2. So as I said, we learned that there is a cover-up surrounding Clavius, and also that the reason there's a cover-up is because they have found something there that is of a significant scientific importance. Apparently. After this, the main character leaves, and then... Okay. To be fair, this scene does actually come with dialogue. Eventually. But mostly it's just this. One ship going from one place to another place. The dialogue that we do get lets us know that they have actually found something buried underneath the crust of Clavius, and that's where they're going. They're going to check it out. See, that's what this movie is. It's scenes of crap floating in space, occasionally interrupted by dialogue that doesn't tell us very much. And that's all this movie is. And if you doubt that point, then let me narrate for you what is going on in this scene. The ship is going. 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 Kind of like my landscape opening that I did in the first part. Now, I know that irritates a lot of people when I say the same thing over and over again, but honestly, think about that. What else can you say about this scene? That's it. That's all that's happening. A ship is moving. You could actually write the entire screenplay of 2001 simply by writing down crap floats in space and copying and pasting it over and over and over again. Now, you may have noticed in this review that I am using video clips far more liberally than I usually do. For the most part, I use stills and occasionally interrupt with video clips where necessary. But I felt the need to show every single thing that I'm talking about in full motion video because this honestly has to be seen to be believed. Look at all this nothing. Here's another interesting little fun fact for anyone who's interested. This is the first review I have done where I have scripted nothing out. Usually I organize my thoughts and write it all down in a script, and I say the pertinent things at pertinent times, etc., etc. I don't have to do that here. There is nothing to say. The ship is going, the ship is going, the ship is going. Actually trying to review this film says more than any other way that this film is about nothing. So, the ship continues to head towards where they're going, and that's all that happens. The ship heads towards where they're going. This scene, a 5-minute and 45-second scene, I might add, is nothing but that. Going, and going, and going. Just imagine another hypothetical for one moment, if you will indulge me. Imagine if the film Jurassic Park had the characters going on a boat from one place to another place for 5 minutes and 45 seconds, only to arrive and find one of the amber samples with a mosquito inside. And just that, just looking at the amber sample. 5 minutes and 45 seconds. You want to know how long it took for Jurassic Park to get to that point? To get to the point where they were looking at the amber sample and letting us know what the importance of it was? About 3 seconds, maybe 5. But Jurassic Park had more important things to be getting on with than just showing us people going to see the amber sample. Like, a story. Have you figured out that they're landing yet? Does Stanley Kubrick honestly think that we are so stupid that we wouldn't figure out that their ship landed and everybody got out of the ship unless we saw that step by step, inch by inch, minutia by minutia, little thing by little thing? I mean, for fuck's sake, look at this. We do not need to watch this. Yep, they're getting out of the ship. Take your sweet ass time, why don't you? Again, I know I'm showing a lot of the movie. I'm practically showing the whole movie. But again, you have to see this to believe it. I cannot fucking believe this. I have never seen more nothing crammed into a film in all my life. Get your asses down there. We know it's there. We know you're gonna get there. Get your fucking asses down there. Do something! Fuck it. I'll just save you a lot of time that this movie is trying to suck dry out of your life. They get down there, take pictures with the monolith, then the monolith makes noise, and then we get this. 18 months later. And boy fucking howdy does it feel like 18 months later. This is probably the point in the film that pissed me off the most, because based on everything that we've seen in the last hour that this movie has been on, the only thing that we have learned so far when the Jupiter mission title comes up is this. We did not need to watch the first hour of this movie. The movie could start here, and it would be the same movie. We learned nothing in the opening other than the fact that the monoliths exist, and with the possible exception of the monkeys finding it way, way long ago in time, we would not miss any of this information if we start the movie here. It's all going to come up again. It will be regularly discussed. We did not need to watch the first hour. So, now we're at the Jupiter mission, 18 months later, and you want to know what we see next? Come on, take a wild guess. While we're sitting through more dead air, I suppose this would be a good time to bring something up that I will admit actually kind of annoys me. When people say this to me, I actually get rather irritated. Now, that usually doesn't happen when people comment on my reviews. I usually just take it on the chin and say that people have their own opinions about what I believe. But this one actually kind of bugs me. And the statement is this: "What's the matter, Matthew? The movie just doesn't have enough action for you?" That's what it is. You want an action movie, and if it's not fast and loud enough, you're just not interested. Well, to those naysayers, I have only one word for you: Gattaca. That was an excellent science fiction film that had virtually no action at all. The problem with this film is not just that it lacks action. It lacks a story. It lacks a plot. It lacks characters. It lacks dialogue. It lacks being a film. We are watching nothing. And once again, I know everyone's sick of me repeating that over and over again, but I can do nothing else. This is crap floating in space. What is this movie about? I know a lot of people have had strong opinions about what it is about, and I have been given volumes of material trying to explain it. I'll go ahead and cover that in the third part of my review, but for now, just take a moment and look at what we are forced to sit through. I've often wondered how long this movie would be if you cut out all the fat in it and just stuck in all the pertinent information. I don't know, but I suspect that this is a 5-minute movie that just happens to be 2 fucking hours. However, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel here. It might not be a very strong light or a very big light, but we are getting close to the one and only moment in the film where we actually get something resembling a film. But we'll talk more about that in part 3. Welcome to part 3. So in the last part, I promised you all something resembling a film. And here we have it. I can sum it up in one word: Hal. Hal the computer is the only character we will ever get in this film. But the thing is, he's a damn good one. Damn good. One of the best characters I have ever seen in any film. Here's the setup. The crew of the USS Slogo is on a mission to Jupiter. 3 crew members are in stasis, while a skeleton crew mans the ship, including Hal the robot. Hal is said to be a perfect computer system, never making errors, never making mistakes. Yet there are many questions surrounding Hal that, amazingly, in this movie of all movies, actually get answered. The questions surrounding Hal have to do with his personhood. Is he a machine that can do the thinking of a human being, or is he simply a machine that is programmed to simulate the thinking of a human being? Well, here's what happens to help us answer that question. During the mission, Hal gets nervous, and when the crew think that he's malfunctioning and they think about disconnecting him, Hal gets scared. Later, he kills many of the crew members and refuses to follow orders. He allows his own fears about the mission to take place of his actual programming. Later on, one of the humans gets to Hal and decides to disconnect him. Hal uses everything at his disposal to make him stop. He reassures him that he is no longer malfunctioning. He reassures him that he still has faith in the mission. And when all else fails, during Hal's final moments, he begs for his life. Hal is a person. To call Hal an antagonist would be somewhat unfair to the character. Hal is just like any other person who would be nervous about a mission that he thinks is going wrong, or at least not the way that he expects it to. He panicked, and that doesn't necessarily make him evil, it simply makes him fallible. Nevertheless, Hal is a very unique villain for me, if he can in fact be called a villain. Hal has no facial features, and so you can't be frightened by him in a tangible sense. He cannot emote, he can't scream, he can't yell, and he can't snarl. Yet with all of Hollywood's big monster movies and horrible, terrifying villains that they can come up with, none of them intimidate me quite as much as Hal does. So for those of you who thought that I couldn't have a single good thing to say about this movie, I definitely consider the Hal character to be a smashing success. So why don't I think that it salvages anything? Well, because as good as the Hal character is, he is still off the point. That seems like a weird thing to say since this movie has no point, but taken in isolation, the Hal story just doesn't mean anything. It has meaning in and of itself, but nothing relating to the actual film. Also, I can't come out and say that this particular part of the film is about nothing the way everything else is, so that's a good plus right there, but the problem is, it still drags. We do get a lot of good character stuff, and there is some chemistry between Hal and Dave as they play physical chess with one another, but the problem is, it's all completely unrelated to the rest of the film. The flow of Hal the character and his motives is broken by more crap floating in space, and scenes that just take way too long, like someone being thrown out into space, and us having to watch every single second of someone going and getting him. But I can at least give this film credit for giving me a character that I love, do love, and have loved ever since I saw this film for the first time. I heart Hal. So Hal basically fucks up the mission for everyone except for Dave, and Dave is left to carry out the rest of the mission himself. Then we get to the third and final act of this film, Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite. Now, for the uninitiated, for those who have never seen this film before in your life, listen to me carefully and don't listen to anyone else. That's a pretty bold statement for me, but I have to make it anyway. Don't watch it. Nothing happens. When you get to this part of the film, turn it off. You will miss nothing. You can occupy the rest of your time just as well by staring at a blank wall, or, if you do have to watch this, mute the sound and play the first track on the Pink Floyd album, Atom Heart Mother. I don't know why, I always just thought that would go well with the scene. I suppose any of the Pink Floyd fans out there will just have to decide if they agree or not. But I digress. Nothing happens. Colors, light, noise, landscape. Only this time it's psychedelic landscape, which I guess is supposed to make it better, but really, it's just nothing. 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 More nothing. More nothing. More nothing. And if you're thinking to yourself, gee, Matthew was saying the same thing over and over again, I could just fast forward this part of the review. Why weren't you saying that about the movie? I'm sorry, I shouldn't yell at my viewers. So I'll just say this. Nothing happens. Then we get to the ending of this movie. And yeah, I can't even say that with a straight fucking face. This movie has no ending. Anything could have been substituted for the end of this film. You can stop the film at any moment, and that would serve just as well as an ending as this does. So let's break down what happens here. Guy gets out of the ship, sees another guy. Guy sees him, but then he turns into that guy. Guy sees old guy, turns into old guy. Old guy sees monolith. Space fetus. So the hell what? He could have been a space fetus or a turkey sandwich, and it would have been just as meaningful or just as meaningless. So, now on to whatever meaning this film had. It had no meaning. But au contraire, says my viewers, I have been sent volumes, and I mean volumes of material from various websites explaining in detail exactly what this movie means, and concluding that if you're like me and you think it has no meaning, you are very, very mistaken. You just need to look at it a little harder. Here's the problem with all of these guys, and I actually really appreciate everyone sending these in. But first, with the exception of a few common themes here and there, no two websites that I came across had the same argument when it came to what this movie was about, which means that the people who made the websites, with good honest intentions, were just making it up. And as I've said before, if you have to make it up yourself, it means the writers didn't know. Hell, I could give 1,001 reasons why Howard the Duck was the most profound movie ever made. Because Howard is a duck. And where do ducks come from? Eggs. And what are eggs a metaphor for? Birth. And what do you need in order to have birth? A mom. And what do we use as a metaphor for Earth? Mother Earth. So Howard the Duck is actually a very profound existential look at how the Earth takes care of us from birth to death, even when we mistreat it. At least that's my interpretation. In reality, it's just a shitty movie. Jurassic Park was a very strong warning story about science for the sake of science, about our complacency in the face of scientific achievements, and how monkeying with nature inevitably brings us down. We think we control nature, but as soon as we do, nature kicks us in the ass. You do not need a guide to understand this. The movie is telling you this. The movie is about this. It's a popular misunderstanding among those who don't particularly care for my reviews that I want a movie to spell everything out for me and hold my hand every step of the way. The truth is that I actually like it when a movie makes you work to understand what's going on. The Sixth Sense, for example. What I don't like is when a movie gives you nothing, when a movie helps you in no way whatsoever, and it actually jumps to the opposite extreme of holding your hand. It just lets you dangle out there with no help at all. That is exactly what this movie is. 2001 is about nothing. And here's my final word on that matter. The following is a quote from Arthur C. Clarke, the co-writer of this film. If you understand 2001 completely, we failed. We wanted to raise far more questions than we answered. So to those of you who sent me the volumes of material making it absolutely clear exactly what 2001 meant and was about, this is apparently a concession on your part that the writers have failed. Now, that's not me picking on you, and it's not me saying anything bad about you or your intentions or your integrity. That's not coming from me. It's coming from them. It's coming from the people who wrote this film. They don't want you to understand the film. They didn't make a film that was possible for you to understand. They have value in the movie not making any sense. And ironically enough, all of my comments about the film being about nothing would apparently make these two jump for joy and think that they just did something great. Imagine this. And really think about this for a minute. Imagine that I drive a dump truck full of Scrabble letters up to your house. I dump all the letters out on the road and say, there's a masterpiece in there somewhere. Put it together yourself. I'll even be really, really generous and say that maybe there would be a little bit of style to that approach, a little bit of originality. No one has ever approached a masterpiece in quite that way. The problem is, much like writing this movie, that's not hard. Anyone can do that. It requires no talent. Anyone can write a movie that deliberately doesn't make any sense. All you have to do is not write it. And anyone cannot write. The end.